My sister threw a glass of juice at me during Christmas dinner after I refused to let her, and her family moved into my house. "We're moving in anyway, and you can't stop us," yelled. So I calmly excused myself and called my lawyer. "Well, let's go. My name is Avalee Dane and I'm 32 years old. I work as a sales representative for a large pharmaceutical company, which means I spend about half my time on business trips across the country. The pay is excellent, and 3 years ago, I bought myself a beautiful 3-bedroom house in the suburbs. I live alone with my cat, Kiki, a gray tabby I adopted from a shelter 5 years ago. She's my best friend, honestly. When you travel as much as I do, coming home to a warm purr and soft fur makes all the difference. My family consists of my parents, who are both retired and live about 20 minutes away from me, and my older sister Maribel. Maribel is 35 and has 2 kids, Lainey, who's 7, and Troy, who's 5. Her husband Corbin used to work in construction, but honestly, he's had trouble keeping steady employment over the years. They've been renting a 2-bedroom apartment on the other side of town for the past 4 years. I've always been close with my family, or at least I thought I was. Growing up, Maribel was the golden child. She was popular in school, did drama club, always had tons of friends. I was quieter, more focused on my studies. Our parents doted on Maribel, and I guess I accepted that was just how things were. When I got my job and started making good money, I wanted to help out. Maribel was always struggling financially, always had some crisis or another. So, about 3 years ago I started sending her $640 every month through Venmo. No questions asked, just trying to be a good sister. But it didn't stop there. Every few weeks, Maribel would call me asking for help with groceries or saying the kids needed new shoes or their winter coats were too small. And I'd say yes every single time. I'd go to Target or wherever and buy what they needed, then drive it over to their apartment. My parents would tell me how generous I was, how Maribel was so lucky to have a sister like me. Felt good to help. Felt like I was doing the right thing. Christmas has always been a big deal in our family. We celebrate at my parents' house every year. Mom makes a huge dinner and all the relatives come over. Aunts, uncles, cousins, sometimes even family friends. This year was supposed to be no different. I spent weeks picking out gifts for everyone. I got Lainey a dollhouse she'd been wanting, and Troy got a big Lego set. For Maribel and Corbin, I bought a nice coffee maker because theirs had broken. For my parents, I got them a gift certificate to their favorite restaurant. December 25th arrived, and I drove over to my parents' house around 3 o'clock in the afternoon. The place was already packed with relatives. My Aunt Selena was there with her husband Grant, my cousin Reese and her boyfriend, my dad's brother Uncle Warren, and a few others. The house smelled like turkey and cinnamon, and Christmas music played softly in the background. Everyone was in good spirits, laughing and catching up. I made my rounds, hugging everyone and handing out gifts. Lainey and Troy ran up to me, squealing with excitement when they saw their presents. Maribel gave me a quick hug and thanked me for the coffee maker. Mom kissed my cheek and told me I looked thin, asked if I was eating enough on my trips. Dad patted my shoulder and said it was good to see me. Everything seemed normal. We all sat down for dinner around 5. Mom had outdone herself as usual. Turkey, mashed potatoes, stuffing, green bean casserole, cranberry sauce, rolls, the works. Everyone filled their plates and started eating. The conversation flowed easily. Uncle Warren told a long story about his fishing trip. Aunt Selena complained about her neighbor's decorations. Reese talked about her new apartment. Then about halfway through dinner, Maribel cleared her throat loudly. The table gradually went quiet as everyone looked at her. She had this big smile on her face, the kind she used to wear in high school when she had gossip to share. "So," Maribel said, glancing around the table, "we have a surprise for Avalee." I looked up from my plate, fork still in my hand. A surprise. Nobody had mentioned anything to me. Maribel looked at our parents and they both nodded at her. Mom was smiling too, that same bright expectant smile. "We've all been talking," Maribel continued. "And we've decided that after New Year's, my family is going to move in with you, Avalee." Froze. The fork in my hand suddenly felt very heavy. I carefully set it down on my plate and looked at her. Move in with me. Mom jumped in before I could say anything. Maribel's lease ends on December 31st, so the timing is perfect. They'll move into your house right after the new year. I kept my face completely neutral. Not a single muscle moved. I'd learned a long time ago in business negotiations that showing your cards too early was a mistake. So I just sat there looking at Maribel, waiting for her to continue. It makes sense for everyone, Maribel went on. We're having some financial difficulties right now. Corbin lost his job about a month ago and I can't work because I need to stay home with Lainey and Troy. They're too young for me to be gone all day. Listened. Just listened. Mom and Dad were nodding along with everything Maribel said, like this was all completely reasonable. You have 3 bedrooms in that house, Maribel said. The kids will take 1 bedroom. Corbin and I will take another, and you can move your office into your own bedroom. You don't really need a separate office anyway. She smiled at me like she was doing me a favor. 1 room will be plenty for you, Averly. You're gone half the time anyway on your business trips. It's not like you're even home that much. The table was silent. Everyone was watching me, waiting to see how I'd react. I took a sip of water, swallowed, and set the glass down carefully. No, I said simply. Maribel blinked. What? I said no. I categorically disagree with this. I don't need roommates in my own house. And you have no right to decide this without even asking me first. Mom's smile vanished. Averly, don't be selfish. Or family. You need to help your sister. This will never happen, I said, keeping my voice steady. I'm not letting anyone move into my house. Maribel's face turned red. She grabbed her glass of cranberry punch and hurled it at me. I saw it coming and jerked to the side. The glass flew past my head, hit the wall behind me and shattered. Glass pieces scattered across the floor, and drops of red juice splattered onto my white blouse. The entire table went silent. Even the kids stopped moving. Everyone just stared. I stood up slowly, pushing my chair back. I looked at the shocked faces around the table. Excuse me, I said politely. I'll be right back. Then I walked out of the dining room and headed for the bathroom. My hands were shaking slightly, but not from shock. I was upset. Really upset. But not for the reason everyone probably thought. I closed the bathroom door behind me and locked it. My reflection stared back at me from the mirror. Red juice droplets dotted my white blouse like blood spatter. I grabbed some paper towels and started dabbing at the stains, but they were already setting in. The blouse was probably ruined. But that wasn't what bothered me. What hurt was the betrayal. For 3 years, I'd been sending Maribel $640 every single month. 36 months times $640. That was $23,040. Plus all the groceries, the clothes for the kids, the shoes, the toys, the emergency money when their car broke down or their rent was late. I'd probably given her close to $38,000 total over the years. And this was how she thanked me. By conspiring with our parents to take over my house. I pulled out my phone and scrolled through my contacts until I found my lawyer's number. Darren Cho. I'd hired him a month ago for exactly this purpose. I tapped his name and waited while it rang. Averly, he answered on the second ring. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas, Darren, I said. They just did it. Everything happened exactly like we thought it would. We can move forward with the plan. You're sure? He asked. Completely sure. Do everything we discussed. Prepare the documents and send them out as soon as possible. I have everything ready to go, Darren said. I'll send them first thing tomorrow morning to all the necessary addresses. Thank you, I said. I really appreciate you working on this during the holidays. That's what you pay me for, he said. Take care of yourself, Averly, and call me if anything else happens. I hung up and stared at my phone for a moment. Then I opened my photos and found the video I'd saved a month ago, the one that had started this whole mess. It was early December when I discovered what Maribel was planning. I'd been on a business trip in Laurel, Michigan, stuck in a hotel room after a long day of client meetings. I missed Kiki. I always missed her when I traveled. So, about 6 months ago, I'd installed a baby monitor in my living room. It looked like a little stuffed toy sitting on the bookshelf, but it had a camera and microphone inside. It connected to my phone through Wi-Fi, and I could watch Kiki anytime I wanted. I could even talk to her through the speaker, and she'd come running when she heard my voice. Nobody in my family knew about the monitor. I never mentioned it to anyone. Whenever I traveled, Mom would come over to take care of Kiki. I'd given her a spare key years ago. She'd feed Kiki, change her litter box, spend a little time with her. It worked out well. But that day in early December, when I connected to the monitor to check on Kiki, I saw something unexpected. Mom wasn't alone. Maribel was with her. They were walking through my house together, room by room. They opened closets, looked in drawers, inspected everything. Then they sat down on my couch in the living room. Kiki jumped up on the couch next to them looking for attention. She rubbed against Mom's leg, purring. Mom pushed her away roughly. "Get down," Mom said. "You're shedding everywhere." Kiki tried again, jumping up next to Maribel. Maribel shoved her off the couch with her foot. "I never liked this stupid cat," Maribel said. "For all over everything. When I move in here with my family, Avali's going to take this thing to a shelter." My stomach clenched as I watched. "She won't do that," Mom said. "That cat is like her child." "Then I'll take it somewhere far away and let it go," Maribel said. "I'll tell Avali it ran away on its own. She'll never find it." Felt sick. They were talking about getting rid of Kiki. My Kiki who'd been with me through everything. "So you're really going to move into Avali's house after New Year's?" "Mas." "Yes," Maribel said. "It's not fair that she has this huge house all to herself. 3 bedrooms for one person. Meanwhile, my family is crammed into a tiny apartment. I'm tired of taking handouts from her too. $640 a month is nothing." "You're right," Mom agreed. "It's not enough." "Here's the plan," Maribel said. "If Avali says no, we'll put on a show. The kids will cry. Corbin will make her feel guilty. You and Dad need to help too. Make her feel like a terrible person for refusing." Mom nodded. "I can do that. I didn't go to drama club for nothing." Maribel laughed. "This will definitely work. She won't be able to say no when the kids are sobbing." They drank tea and kept talking. Then Mom said something that made my blood run cold. "By the way, your father and I opened a credit card in Avali's name last month. We used her ID. We had the card sent to our address." Maribel's eyes widened. "Really? I'll help you with money from that card once you move in," Mom said. "What happens when Avali finds out?" Maribel asked. "She'll forgive us," Mom said. "We're her parents. And she'll probably just pay off the balance herself anyway. You know how she is." I sat in that hotel room staring at my phone screen, shaking with rage. Credit card fraud. They'd committed actual fraud against me. Their own daughter and sister. I immediately started recording the video from the monitor onto my phone. I saved it in 3 different places. Then I called Darren and told him everything. We spent the next few weeks preparing for this exact moment. Now, standing in my parents' bathroom on Christmas Day with juice stains on my blouse, I knew it was time. I unlocked the door and walked back to the dining room. Everyone was still sitting there in uncomfortable silence. Maribel glared at me as I approached the table. "I have a surprise for Maribel too," I announced. Everyone at the table turned to look at me. Maribel crossed her arms over her chest, her face still flushed from throwing the glass. Mom and Dad exchanged nervous glances. "I know all about your plan," I said calmly. "The plan you came up with together. All 3 of you." "What are you talking about?" Maribel said. I pulled out my phone and tapped the screen a few times. Then I turned up the volume and hit play. The voices came through clearly. Mom and Maribel talking in my living room. Every word about getting rid of Kiki, about the fake crying scheme, about taking over my house. And then the part about the credit card fraud. The color drained from Mom's face. Maribel's mouth fell open. "You recorded us." Maribel shrieked. You had no right to do that. I didn't record you, I said. This is footage from my baby monitor. The one that watches my cat. The cat you were planning to abandon somewhere. That's illegal, Mom shouted. Actually, it's not, I said. It's my house. My security system. I can record whatever I want in my own home. But you know what is illegal? Opening a credit card in someone else's name. That's fraud. And you're both going to face serious consequences for it. The relatives around the table sat frozen. Aunt Selena's fork was halfway to her mouth. Uncle Warren stared at Mom with his jaw hanging open. No one said a word. You can't prove anything, Dad said quietly. I have the video, I said. And I have bank records showing purchases made on that card. Purchases I never authorized. My lawyer already has copies of everything. Maribel jumped up from her chair. We're moving in with you anyway. You can't stop us. Good luck with that, I said. I grabbed my purse from the chair and walked toward the front door. Behind me, I could hear Maribel yelling something, but I didn't stop. I got in my car and drove home. When I got there, I checked my email. Darren had already sent everything. There was a formal complaint to the bank about the fraudulent credit card, a cease and desist letter from Maribel and my parents stating they had no permission to enter or occupy my property. Copies of the video file, everything documented and official. I forwarded all of it to my own files, then tried to relax. Kiki came and curled up on my lap while I sat on the couch. I stroked her soft fur and felt some of the tension leave my body. 2 days later, Mom called. I saw her name on my phone screen and almost didn't answer. But I was curious what she'd say. What is this letter from the bank about blocking a credit card? She demanded. I hung up without saying a word. Several more days passed. I spent New Year's Eve alone with Kiki, watching movies and eating takeout Chinese food. At midnight, I toasted with a glass of wine to new beginnings. On January 2nd, I was working at my desk when my security camera alert went off on my phone. I'd installed new cameras a week ago, right after Christmas. They covered the front door, back door, and driveway. I opened the app and saw them. Mom, Maribel, Corbin, and the 2 kids. They were all standing on my front porch. Mom had her old key in her hand and was trying to push it into the lock. The key didn't fit. I changed all the locks 3 days ago. Mom tried again, jiggling the key. Nothing. Then she started pounding on the door. Averly, she yelled. Open this door right now. Maribel joined in, banging with both fists. Let us in. We have nowhere else to go. Corbin stood behind them, looking uncomfortable. The kids were bundled up in winter coats, their faces red from the cold. I stayed silent inside, watching them through my phone. I'm calling the police, Mom screamed. I'm going to tell them you're abusing these children. They're freezing out here because of you. Maribel held up her phone. I'm recording this. I'm recording how you're treating your own niece and nephew. I walked to the front door but didn't open it. Instead, I spoke loudly through it. This house has cameras, I said. They're recording everything right now. Video and audio. If you don't leave immediately, I'm calling the police. And when they get here, I'll file charges for credit card fraud and attempted illegal entry into my home. There was silence on the other side of the door. You wouldn't dare, Maribel finally said. Try me, I replied. More silence. Then I heard Corbin say something quietly to Maribel. The kids started whining that they were cold. After about 10 minutes of standing there, they finally gave up. I watched through the camera as they all got into Maribel's car and drove away. That evening, Mom posted something on Facebook. I saw it because several relatives immediately started texting me about it. The post said I had kept my sister and her children outside in the freezing cold for over an hour. It said I had refused to let them into my house even though they had nowhere to go. It was written to make me look like a monster. But I had already sent that video to every single relative right after Christmas. The video of Mom and Maribel planning their scheme. Every aunt, uncle, and cousin had seen it. The comments on Mom's post started rolling in within minutes. Aunt Selena wrote that everyone knew about their plan and that fraud was a crime. Uncle Warren said he was ashamed of them. Reese said they got what they deserved. One by one, relatives posted angry responses. Within 2 hours, Mom deleted the post. The next day there was a knock on my door. I checked the camera and saw Mom and Dad standing there. Just the two of them this time. No Maribel. I opened the door but stood in the doorway, blocking them from entering. "We need to talk," Dad said. "Fine," I said. "Talk." "Maribel's family still needs a place to live," Mom said. "Our house is too small for all of them." "That's not my problem," I said. "You have to help," Dad insisted. "No," I said. "I don't. And I'm never giving Maribel money again." I pulled out a business card from my pocket and handed it to Mom. It was for social services. "Maribel and Corbin have an appointment there on Monday," I said. "They can help them find affordable housing. They'll help Corbin find work. They can get food stamps. That's all I'm willing to do." Mom stared at the business card in her hand like it was something dirty. "Social services," she said. "You want your sister to go on welfare." "I want her to get the help she actually needs," I said. "Professional help. Not just money from me every month." That clearly wasn't enough anyway. "This is cruel," Dad said. "What's cruel is committing fraud against your own daughter," I replied. "Now here's the deal. If you continue to slander me online or if you try to move into my house again, I'm going to the police. I'll press charges. I'll take you to court. Are we clear?" They both stared at me. Mom's lips were pressed into a thin line. "And the credit card?" Mom asked quietly. "Can we at least keep it?" "Get off my property," I said. I stepped back inside and closed the door in their faces. After that there was silence. Months went by without a single word from any of them. No calls, no texts, no Facebook messages. It was like they had all decided I didn't exist anymore. I heard updates through Aunt Selena. She told me that Maribel and Corbin did go to social services. They qualified for affordable housing in a subsidized apartment complex. It was actually bigger than their old rental. Corbin got hired as a handyman at the local hospital within 2 weeks. Maribel found part-time work as a cleaner at the same hospital. Social services connected them with a part-time nanny who watched Lainey and Troy while they worked. And apparently Mom and Dad started babysitting the kids regularly too. My life went back to normal. I traveled for work, came home to Kiki, enjoyed my house. The peace and quiet was amazing. No more emergency calls asking for money. No more guilt trips about not doing enough. Just me living my life. But I'm not heartless. I opened a separate savings account and named it Emergency Fund. Every month I transfer $640 into it. The same amount I used to send Maribel. It's there if her family truly needs it someday. A real emergency. Medical bills. Something like that. Not rent money or groceries. Actual emergencies. The account has been growing for 8 months now. $5,120 sitting there. Maribel doesn't know about it. Nobody does. Few weeks ago Mom sent me a text message. Just one line asking if I wanted to come to Thanksgiving dinner at their house. I texted back that I wouldn't be coming. I told her if I ever wanted to meet with them, I'd let them know myself. But I do think about Lainey and Troy. They're just kids. None of this is their fault. Christmas is coming up again soon and I've already bought them presents. An art set for Lainey because Aunt Selena mentioned she likes to draw now. A science kit for Troy because apparently he's obsessed with dinosaurs. I'll mail the packages to Maribel's new address. No return label. No note. Just the gifts. Maybe someday we'll all be able to sit in the same room again. Maybe Maribel will realize that I helped her more than she ever appreciated. Maybe Mom and Dad will understand that what they did was wrong. Or maybe not. Maybe this is just how things are now. A family fractured beyond repair. Either way, I'm okay. I have my job, my house, and Kiki purring on my lap right now as I type this whole story out. I have relatives who stood by me when they learned the truth. I have my self-respect and I have boundaries now. Real ones that I actually enforce. Maribel wanted my house, my space, my life. She wanted to push me into a corner and take what I'd worked for. But I didn't let her. I stood my ground. Sometimes helping people means not giving them what they want. Sometimes it means forcing them to find their own way. Maribel's family is actually doing better now than when I was just handing her money every month. They have stable housing, steady jobs, childcare, support. They did it without me. And honestly, maybe that's what they needed all along. As for that credit card Mom and Dad opened, the bank canceled it immediately and cleared me of all charges once I filed the fraud report. I never heard if they faced legal consequences. I decided not to push it that far. The threat was enough. So that's my story. Christmas that changed everything. The day I finally said no to my family and meant it. The day I chose myself over obligation. I don't regret it. Not for a second.